Hello and welcome to Kaspersky Power's MSP Partner Profitability, presented by Kaspersky. I'm your host, Ed Hannon, and my guests today are Trevor Cerebro, MSP Partner Account Manager, North America with Kaspersky, and Brian Alexiak, President and CSO with Oxygen Technical Services Limited. Trevor and Brian, thanks for being here, and we're going to get started right away by just again reminding you that our program today is again Kaspersky Power's MSP Partner Profitability. And let's just get going right into it. Let's get right to the first question. Trevor's going to start, and I think Brian's going to take it from there. First question, Trevor, how has COVID-19 and the coronavirus impacted Kaspersky partners and their customers?
Well, Ed, it's been a very interesting time for sure. You know, we've seen an increase in cybercrime, malware, phishing. For example, there was a malware attack based on a Brazilian government scam. And basically what the email had mentioned was that the government was eliminating electricity charges, but you couldn't stop paying until you signed up and registered. And obviously when you go to the site to register, some malware was delivered onto the user's laptop or PC. So that was one. Another one we saw was a phishing attack targeting US citizens that were older than 70 years old. So obviously it's a target market for them. And basically they were taken to a website that asked them for all their personal information, including their social security numbers. And so that's something that we've seen in the last little while. From a partner perspective, some of the things we've seen is that partners initially were very busy at the outset of the pandemic. Then there was sort of a lull, where the market was unsure of what next steps were. And then they got busy again, once we saw that the pandemic was here for a longer time than expected. It wasn't going to be temporary. Some have slowed down and some are busy. But, Brian, how has the pandemic impacted your business?
Yeah, first and foremost, thanks for the invite and let me be part of this discussion. Trevor, I echo your sentiments about how the threat landscape has become a lot more interesting, to say the least, as you're seeing the bad actors take advantage of the current, I would call, the socioeconomic situation we're in, never mind the healthcare challenges that we have. But from a pure business standpoint, I heard a great comment during a virtual conference with Tech Data just last month, and I'm going to paraphrase this comment. Since COVID-19 hit, really North America, Europe through March and April, we have seen literally a year's worth of innovation and change in the technology landscape every single month since March. So you think about that. It might be a bit hyperbolic to say that, but it's not off base to say that we've seen 5 to 6 to 7 years worth of innovation and change in a matter of months. So in the IT space, we who work in the IT space and facilitate the execution of technology as what I call a functional pillar of our client's success, we've had to pivot very quickly and very rapidly to the changing environment. Now, from an option standpoint, security, where we tie in with this Kaspersky platform, security is no longer an additional conversation that occurs while you consult regarding a client's technology requirements. And this is what's rapidly changed for us for the last number of months. It's a functional pillar for our clients' technology solutions. Applying a security ecosystem to a client's environment should be discussed in the same vein as which version of Microsoft Office do you want? So what we're seeing are the clients, through all this innovation and through what's happening within, let's face it, ransomware is now a story in the papers. People talk about it. People are now recognizing that this is a conversation piece. So from our perspective, probably one of the biggest transformative things that we've experienced over the last number of months is now we can actually have intelligent conversations around what we can do to solve any current problems. And with cybersecurity, Kaspersky as a fundamental tool within our cybersecurity ecosystem, how to mitigate the risk of future problems.
It's scary stuff. One of the things that fascinates me about security talk, whenever we talk about security, is that there's no two cases that are instances that are exactly the same, whether it's the customer or the attacker or what they're doing to make the attack. So this is it just always sort of shakes you a little bit to the core. Trevor, I'm going to pivot back to you for this one. What specific challenges have you seen as far as the pandemic have brought to your partners and their customers?
Yeah, well, as Brian mentioned, business is very different. I mean, that's what we've seen across the board. Priorities have changed for businesses. New IT projects have been delayed to make way for work from home projects. And so, like Brian said, it's been very different month to month.
And then you talked about how things have changed. How have the solutions, your Kaspersky solutions, helped the MSP and the MSPs, and their customers sort of navigate all this turbulence?
Well, security is obviously top of mind. And as I mentioned earlier, cybercrime has really increased over the past 6 to 8 months. Employees have now moved further to the edge of the network. And for those companies that were not prepared, this has become a real issue. So what have we done to help? We have a number of solutions that are cloud-based, which have helped partners quickly deploy solutions to their customers. Kaspersky has seen a number of attacks on healthcare. And early during the pandemic, we announced a number of initiatives to help protect this critical market segment. For instance, we'd offered healthcare organizations free endpoint security. We'd offered them security for Office 365 at no charge. And we'd also offered them free access to our cybersecurity awareness training platform. And one of the key issues with protecting data is the lack of awareness around security. We often talk about one of the most well-known gaps a business can have. And by the way, cyber criminals are aware of it, the human factor. And we have a solution for our MSPs to help their clients mitigate the human factor gap, which is really our cybersecurity awareness training.
Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. Let's talk about some trends now for a couple minutes. I'm going to start again with you, Trevor. There's a lot of talk about infrastructure as a service, but how does Kaspersky help your partners navigate that trend, that growing trend of infrastructure as a service?
Well, a few years ago, we began investing in the managed services market segment. And ever since then, we've been developing a strong suite of products to help MSPs grow recurring revenue. So I often talk with MSPs about building or stacking a number of services and presenting this layered approach to their customers. For instance, an MSP can start out offering a basic managed endpoint solution for X number of dollars per month. And the basic service may include a monthly fee per user, offering a solid anti-ransomware, anti-malware solution for their servers, workstations, and laptops. Now, as the customer wants to add, say, mobile devices for their employees, maybe, or security for Office 365, not only for Exchange, but also for SharePoint, OneDrive, as well as Teams, they might want to block cloud services from being used, like Gmail, Yahoo, Dropbox, or even Facebook Messenger. In addition to all this extra security, you can add patch management as another line item. This gives the MSP an opportunity to grow a monthly endpoint protection service by 2x or even more.
I think one of the things that the end user kind of takes for granted is that the stuff's just available to them at all times. And then when things are either added or subtracted, that there's kind of no rhyme or reason for it. It's like, oh, why do I got to do this or why do I got to do that? But you guys sort of work in that back end of things, and it's not a question; it's more of a thought on my part. Just it's amazing when you sort of work on the back end of things, what the methodology and the reasoning is for doing the things, allowing or denying access to things that on the those of us who just use the stuff just take for granted. Why doesn't a piece of software work? Why can't I do X? There's always a reason for it. Frankly, it's none of our business. Honestly, it's none of our business. It's just interesting to see, when you sort of get this access to the sort of new knob turning that goes on behind the scenes, which is why I just love talking about this stuff. So anyway, I'm off the topic and I apologize, but I want to switch the topic a little bit, talk about the rise of managed services. How can Kaspersky help move the traditional reseller into a managed services business model?
Well, we, like many other vendors, have seen an increase in businesses' appetites for pay-as-you-go models, and we've stepped up to the plate with our offerings. So as I mentioned earlier, in its simplest form, a reseller or an MSP may offer endpoint protection as a monthly paid solution. without any additional services. For example, this could be an add-on line item on a monthly lease of laptops, workstations or servers. Then as the reseller grows in skill set and maybe resources, other services can be offered, such as managed protection, patch management, or even security for Office 365.
Let's take a little step in a different direction. From a macro level, without getting into some of the specifics, how does Kaspersky help partners grow their business?
So first and foremost, products are based on a monthly licensing model. So that's aligning your software costs, obviously, with your monthly revenues. Secondly, we are helping MSPs broaden their offerings and monthly revenue by adding, things like security for Office 365, endpoint detection and response, cybersecurity awareness training. And lastly, providing the right tools to properly manage the clients. These are the top growth catalysts for MSPs to be able to develop stronger offerings for their customers.
Excellent. I'm going to tag Brian back in on the back end of this one, but Trevor, I'll start with you again. What separates Kaspersky first in your mind, and then I guess in Brian's, from the competition when it comes to making an MSP more profitable?
Well, obviously, the first place I talk about is our aggressive pricing models that we have through our MSP program. Being able to deliver one of the most effective anti-malware, anti-ransomware solutions on the market, because that equals less time and less resources required to keep a client's IT environment clear of malware. And then the other issue, or the other strong point, is that we offer a very broad portfolio of products, including endpoint protection, EDR, security for Office 365, patch management, encryption, decryption. Maybe Brian, you have some points you can add, on the question of profitability.
Yeah, for sure, Trevor. One thing I need to stress here, and you've brought this up, the key point here is in your partnership with Kaspersky, an MSP can't just focus on what Kaspersky will provide to you in terms of revenue per endpoint. That's legacy managed services, MSP thinking. The partners need to focus on what additional insight a robust, focused endpoint security platform will give you about your entire environment, and how that one solution integrates into your entire cybersecurity ecosystem. You put all these platforms together, and remember, Kaspersky, Trevor, you did a great job of identifying this, and this is a conversation that I have continuously with my account executives and solution architects. Kaspersky is not a one-trick pony. Kaspersky has the capabilities to look deeper and wider into your clients' environments. This is where you as an MSP can drive additional value for clients and revenue for yourself. This is where the profitability goes up. It's not focusing on how much I'm going to charge per endpoint. It's the ability to drive additional value through the data that you garner through these different platforms in partnership with Kaspersky that drives the true value of your relationship, that drives those additional outcomes. This is where the managed services provider needs to focus. The endpoint is the beginning. Partnership with Kaspersky is that journey that you're going to go on together, that's going to drive the data, that's going to drive the insight, that's going to drive the additional value and profitability for the company, for the partners themselves.
Excellent. And then Trevor, I'm going to come back to you for this one. How does Kaspersky help MSPs reduce friction and also streamline client deployments?
Great question, Ed. So our license management portal, or LMP, is a true pay-as-you-go subscription model. The system automatically calculates pricing on a daily basis. Secondly, our cloud management consoles, allowing quick deployment of solutions and providing administrator access for clients that request it for their own environments. And lastly, reducing the complexity in the deployment process, such as maybe sending an email link, using Active Directory, or even downloading an installation package to your favorite RMM and delivering it that way.
Well said. Well said. So let's move to the let's talk a little bit about partnerships. We're going to pivot a little bit toward partnerships here. Trevor, I want to talk to you for a minute about the partner program. How's the Kaspersky partner program evolved in the last year? And again, I picked the year, but you can pick whatever period you want. But how's it evolved recently?
In terms of advances in the last year, We've added license management portal, our LMP, which is a huge benefit for partners to use. We've added more functionality to our cloud solutions, such as wrapping security for Office 365 right into the cloud services product. We've also added cloud services monitoring and blocking. The other thing we've done is we've created a new product called Kaspersky Security Center for Cloud, which helps users support up to 10,000 nodes. So now we have, the entry-level product that supports up to 2,000 nodes. We have the mid-market product that supports up to 10,000. And then we have our enterprise or large enterprise product that supports up to 100,000 nodes in a single instant.
Excellent. And then one of the things with this stuff is, you make some changes, you sort of see how they go, and then you decide, when the time is maybe makes more changes. So would there, do you see any more tweaks or changes, being made to the partner program looking forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're listening to partners all the time. I mean, that is, we're 100% partner centric. And so we're adding more reports. We're giving granular access to administrators. We're adding managed detection and response. And overall, we're adding a lot more MSP centric functionality.
And I guess to that, you said you're partner centric. What 100% partner centric, partner focused. What drives Kaspersky to seek continuing not only success but just happiness and satisfaction from partners like Brian?
Well, that's, the primary reason is that we are channel centric, which means our business only grows when our partners' businesses grow. And so because of this, we do whatever we can to maintain strong partner relationships. At the end of the day, our partners are critical to our business model.
There you go. I'm going to start these. I think, Brian, I'm going to send these toward you. And Trevor, if you want to chime in, maybe have you chime in on these, but I'm going to go with Brian on these to start. Brian, from your point of view, from where you're sitting, what are some reasons, I could say three, but what are some reasons why a partner like yourself chose Kaspersky over other endpoint protection vendors in what is by all accounts an extremely crowded marketplace?
Crowded is the right term. And for us was opportunity. Well, before I get into my three reasons, it really comes down to opportunity. And an opportunity arose and the timing was right. And we executed on that. So if I look at three reasons that we selected Kaspersky, first and foremost, great technology and great outcome. What does that mean? The technology is proven, and I can let Trevor talk to the stats, and he was talking about how the threat landscape for ourselves personally, because we executed on our Kaspersky plan right when, March, April is when we pretty much completed our onboarding of Kaspersky and really did a forklift implementation of the platform. But great technology and great outcomes. I'm not going to lie, we had challenges. You're always going to have challenges when you forklift in a new platform. But the benefits that we saw with a better solution and better insight into what our platform was doing far outweighed being complacent. So we had a decision to make. What we have right now, it seems pretty good, but is it really? Or else we could go with something that is proven that it's going to, I'm going to say, up our game when it comes to part of our cybersecurity ecosystem, was going to up the game. And that's why we selected Kaspersky from a technology standpoint. And once again, it's far too easy for MSPs just to get complacent and say, I don't want the hassle of trying to onboard a new platform. That's the wrong mindset. If you have that mindset as an MSP, you will fail. You have to be willing to get uncomfortable and try out new technologies to the benefit of both your team and your clients. Great people. One of the top comments that I get from my sales staff and solution architects is how accessible the Kaspersky resources are. We live in a bit of a flyover city in Winnipeg, Canada. But the one thing, and when I say flyover, you've got, for your audience, you've got your Torontos and you got your Vancouvers in Canada. Typically people want to fly over the prairies because there's not a lot to see here, especially in the wintertime. What we found from the Kaspersky team is their willingness to invest their time and bring in resources, whether they're from the US or whether it's Trevor coming out of the GTA, or other resources from around Canada, their willingness to invest their time into making us successful. That's a big check mark right there for us. Final, from the third reason that I've selected is channel focus. And I define channel focus as a vendor or manufacturer that fundamentally views their success being tied to their partner success. And we can sit here and talk about how some other manufacturers or developers don't necessarily have that same mindset. Kaspersky is 100% channel focused, which I fully appreciate. But I will warn any potential partner or maybe current partner trying to best utilize Kaspersky, we take a very defined process when it comes to onboarding technology. To be successful with Kaspersky, and Trevor, I'm pretty sure you're going to agree with this as well, you have to invest resources in training, in implementation, in support. It requires your follow-up with your team members as well as your clients. Oxygen's journey from talking to Kaspersky to implementing it was close to 12 months. It really is a journey. And there is a cost associated with that. And the one thing that's really nice about Kaspersky is they recognize that, and they're willing to help you out with that. They're willing to incentivize you, whether it's through marketing, whether it's through training, whether it's through helping build your Kaspersky business. They're willing to invest in you. All they're saying is, hey, Oxygen, MSP partner, prospective partner, invest in us as well. This is a mutually beneficial relationship we're trying to develop here. These are some of the reasons why I really enjoy building this business with Kaspersky.
Excellent. And then you talked about some of this already, but let's dig into that a little bit more. I think if I heard you correctly, you became a partner earlier this year, back in February, March of this year. So to whatever, however you want to explain this, why and how did you become a partner, and sort of like, what was that sort of that discovery and I guess investigation process that led you from why you were, what made you want to do it? And then how did that process work into becoming one, earlier this year?
Yeah, and that's an interesting question, Ed, and really it's a great question as well. Our journey with Kaspersky, and Trevor, you can provide me some dates as well. We finally started our physical onboarding in late winter, early spring. So we became a partner. It would have been probably about mid 2019, maybe the fall of 2019 as well. Our conversations would have started. It was interesting. Our conversation, we have a great partnership with Tech Data, and a couple of years ago, Tech Data came my account manager with Tech Data reached out to me because of a lack of partner presence in Western Canada, specifically around Kaspersky. And he asked if I was interested in having a deeper conversation. Once again, timing was perfect, because we're in that process of starting to investigate. We've got to move off of this legacy platform that we're utilizing that is not a true endpoint protection client that was being provided by our managed services vendor. And we need to put our big boy, big girl pants on and grow up and provide an actual robust enterprise grade solution to our clients. We started the conversation, and really the rest is history. But this is an example of how relationships evolve into partnerships, and through open communications and transparency, because Trevor and I had a lot of transparent conversations. He's like, Brian, what's going on? When's this happening? Come on, we're investing in you. Let's get this going. I love that conversation. He's forcing accountability from myself and my team. That is a requirement to create a great partnership. But if you do this, you'll create you're going to create this successful partnership for everyone involved. But the best part about this is you're going to create something even better for your clients that you may not have been providing up to that point.
Excellent. And then I'm gonna, in that discovery, we were talking about how that sort of the journey happened that led to you becoming a partner. Where in there, as you were, through that whole process, how and sort of where and why in your mind, like what separated Kaspersky from, again, like we've talked about over and over again, a marketplace that's just littered. I mean, there's just zillions of people out there, but Kaspersky was the one that jumped off the page at you. How did they do that?
Yeah, you're going to kind of laugh at this. So I was sort of, I was talking about this a bit in my last, the answer to my last question. They were in my face. And this is a great thing. This is what you want from a team that's passionate about their solution. They're in my face. They're following up. Brian, we've got the right solution for you. Let's get this moving. Let's move this forward. And when you talk to other vendors, they didn't come to you with that kind of a passion. And that's what I want. That's what I bring to my relationship with my clients and with my team, a level of passion about what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to achieve on their behalf. I want to partner with companies like that. I want to work with individuals who are so passionate about their platforms that they're going to be forcing that accountability. Kaspersky committed itself right from the beginning of coming out to Winnipeg. I was telling you about this, bringing out the engineers to review the solution, providing resources to help us with our proof of concepts, building business plans, investing in marketing initiatives, and holding us accountable. And I have to say to all the MSPs or strategic technology consultants, if your vendors aren't holding you accountable, and if you aren't holding your clients and your vendors accountable and your partners, you will not create a consistent and predictable service offering. And that's what Kaspersky did with us. They held us accountable, and this is where we are now.
It's a great point. It is absolutely a great point. I have talked to over the years so many solution providers who say they never hear from the vendor. They just don't hear from them. Like they just they met at an event. They just said, hey, let's partner up. You can have access to our solutions, and then they never hear from them again. So when you tell that story about how they were in your face and sort of pushing you, I think more solution providers and more MSPs, they need to hear that. They need to know that the expectation level can't just be set it and forget it. It can't just be, hey, let's be a partner and leave it alone. So I want to pivot off of that and ask you, since you became a partner with Kaspersky, how has that partnership evolved in that time since you became a partner?
Well, and that's a bit of a tough question, just because our partnership is still relatively new. And let's face it, the last few months, there's been a lot of mud's been churned up, and we're sitting here trying to make sure that we're pivoting our resources in the right fashion. So we completed our migration from our legacy MSP antivirus platform to Kaspersky at the beginning of this year, and we know what the rest of the year has been like. I would love nothing more than to do a webinar 12 months from now, and we can do another follow-up. But what we are doing now, and I brought this up before, is now we are thinking, the endpoint protection, that's very tactical. That's a tactical function of your overall solution scenario or solutions catalog. So now what we need to do is we need to do additional initiatives, and we're working with Trevor and with Kaspersky, some things around the end user training, around Office 365 security. And one thing that we're sort of poking around with as well is securing at the edge as well as with IoT. We're currently walking with Kaspersky, and now we are going to slowly start to break into a bit more of a jog, and then we'll be running with Kaspersky. But that's the evolution. And once again, I cannot stress this enough. All those MSPs that are out there that are looking at refining or making their solutions catalog more robust, commit the time, create a business plan, and execute on that business plan, and be ruthless about it. Because if you are, you will be successful.
It's a great point. Just to sum up, just to encapsulate, really cover the stuff you've talked about, just to put a bow on this, maybe. Just again, to reiterate for the audience, how can other solution providers get the most from a partnership with Kaspersky?
Yeah, okay. And I was, when I saw this question, I got kind of excited about answering it. And so at Auction, we believe that our peers in the industry far too often are asking the wrong questions or the wrong things from our vendors. And typically what they're saying is, what are you going to do for us? How are you going to increase revenue? You're going to bring us new clients. What are you, me. Our approach is the opposite. We asked the Kaspersky team, what do they want from an ideal partner? And they told us, get in front of prospects, trust our managed platform, Get your people trained on the Kaspersky solution. Take part in industry events. Let us help you run some marketing events. Create the relationship. We invested in the Kaspersky partnership and they invested in Oxygen. That is how a current who's not getting their full value or a potential partner with Kaspersky is going to see the greatest amount of success. Mutually investing in each other. Oxygen and Kaspersky to the benefit of our current clients and the pursuit of new clients. That is how you'll get the most out of your partnership.
That's a great point. And I'm going to go to Trevor in a second here for some concluding thoughts. But I think there's this notion that there's like one way to do things. It's like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I think what you're saying is really interesting to me. And I think it's going to be interesting to the audience, because it's this idea of, if you're just waiting to hear from them and you're not getting anything, push back, put it back on them, or vice versa. If it's the other way around and it's one way, don't be hesitant to being pushed back on. So the point being, there doesn't have to be one journey that gets you from beginning to end. But what if the journey you're taking isn't right? Don't hesitate to sort of mix it up a little bit.
And I'm going to finish off with this one
please.
comment. And what everybody has to understand is continuous improvement has to be a key tenet to the success of managed service providers out there. If you are not pushing yourself for that continuous improvement, for getting uncomfortable, for trying out different platforms, for expanding your services, it will not be a successful endeavor for yourself. This is how you really push yourself to the edge. This is how you make yourself different. This is how you make yourself successful and ultimately make your clients successful. And that's my final thought on that.
Excellent. Brian, thanks so much. Trevor, I'm going to come back to you here for some closing thoughts. We covered a lot of stuff, and you and Brian have both been great. What would you say from your seat are some of the most important things we talked about today?
So firstly, I'd say MSP profitability, having the right pricing models to help partners realize better margins, ease of use and ease of management, streamlining the purchasing process and deployment of solutions. And then lastly, I'd say, having the right breadth of products and services, helping partners achieve multiple streams of monthly recurring revenue by allowing them to add more layers of services.
Excellent. And then what's something that, when you were putting your thoughts together for today's program and we were sort of, going back and forth about it, that maybe we didn't get a chance to talk enough about, that good for the audience to sort of keep in mind going forward?
Well, I think Brian might have touched on this, but it's really our endpoint protection leadership. So based on independent tests and reviews that we've been tracking for the past 7 years, Ed, we can show partners and customers that year after year, we continue to prove our dominance in this market space. This is a characteristic of our deep commitment to providing the most effective cybersecurity solutions available, all the way from Eugene Kaspersky right through the organization.
You hear that, folks? Dominance. That's where you want to be. You want to be with dominant people. So these guys are the people you want to be with. So Trevor, last thing, when everybody clicks end or leave or goodbye from this program, where's the next place they should go? What's the first thing they should do?
Well, first off, I'd say you need to decide if what you're doing today is working for you. Is your business, either as an MSP or VAR, as profitable as you'd like it to be? Are you getting your fair share of monthly recurring revenue from your clients? And do you have the ability to grow your business with your current vendors? If you answered no to any of these questions, reach out to us. I'll be prepared to set up a brief call to review our MSP program and our solutions. And I'd also like to add that we have one of the most compelling lineup of MSP-centric security solutions on the market at very competitive rates. Thanks, Ed.
There you go. You heard it from Trevor. You heard it from Brian. These guys know what they're talking about, and they know a good solution when they find one. So unfortunately, because I could talk about security stuff all day, unfortunately, though, we're out of time. And I want to thank Trevor and Brian again for being here. And I want to thank all of you for watching. And once again, my name's Ed Hannon. And it's been my pleasure to talk to all of you today. And you've been watching Kaspersky Powers MSP Partner Profitability, presented by Kaspersky. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.